Hi, Shane Serson here to talk about the next Deadly Drumming Influence Revisited, originally posted in 2012. Part of Studio Drummers Week. Again, today it is Larrie Londin, one of my favorite drummers of all time. Now, a lot of people may not know who Larrie Londin is, but if you follow country music, he was one of the kings of country when it came to playing, especially in the earlier to pretty much into the 80s and whatnot of country. One of my favorite tunes ever was Amos Moses, a tune by Jerry Reed, and the other one I think was When You're Hot, You're Hot. If I'm not mistaken, both of those were played by Larrie Londin and incredible drumming. I saw Larrie at a clinic at PASIC one time, and oddly enough, Modern Drummer was taking pictures at that clinic, and I ended up in the magazine. From one of the side shots, you could see me sitting over there watching him. But I had never seen Larrie play. I had just heard recordings. But man, what a sound and what a powerhouse he was when he hit those drums. And I kid you not, at this particular clinic, and I think it was in Knoxville, Tennessee, I specifically remember Bill Bruford, Terry Bozzio, Steve Smith. I think it was Steve Smith. Anyway, there are a few drummers sitting right there in the front row, and they were like trying to see what he was doing because he was doing some unique stuff. And I know he turned the snares off at one time and was playing the drums like congas and hitting stuff, and it was tremendous. Anyway, enough of that. But Larrie Londin, he played with Elvis for a while. He was a very, very big guy, very large man, and really hit the drums and had a solid sound. That's why he became one of the top studio drummers of all time. Thousands of recordings and whatnot. But if you've heard Journey's album, Raised on Radio, you've heard Larrie Londin, because like The Girl Can't Help It and Be Good to Yourself and I'll Be All Right Without You, all those hits were Larrie Londin playing. Steve Smith only played a couple tracks on that because he and Ross Valerie were fired from the band at that time. Steve Perry's solo album with Oh Sherry, that is Steve Perry. I think Steve Perry and Craig Cramp played most of the tunes on that album. Anyway, an incredible drummer, an incredible powerhouse. I believe it was, he owned a drum shop in Nashville at one time. I think it was called Dog Percussion, D-O-G. And I believe that was his wife's initials, Dorothy something Gatland. Larrie London's original last name was Gatland. And I remember visiting that drum shop and being really, really cool. I have a few friends that in Nashville that have relocated to Nashville and are still there. Steve Holland and Wesley Pryor, both fantastic drummers and working the studio scene and the touring scene. And both of those guys had spent time with Larrie Londin and learned a unique tuning method that he does. And I would probably mess it up if I told you, but Larrie London drums always sounded incredible, as do anything I've heard by Steve or Wesley Pryor. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, the drums are on the lower side, and you detune one lug on top and bottom, something like that. Now, I may be wrong. Hopefully those guys are watching it, they can correct it, or they may not want to tell what it is. But it's really cool. And I did have a Larrie Londin signature ride for a while from Sabian. I sold it to a friend of mine, drummer for Restless Heart, John Dietrich, who was a big fan of Larrie Londin. I met Larrie in a couple of clinics and was always gracious and nice, and like I said, a big man. Unfortunately, he passed away, but what a powerhouse. And I kid you not, just his feel alone, his feel on The Girl Can't Help It, the way he lays that snare back is incredible. Same with Oh Sherry and I'll Be All Right Without You. And those aren't even country tunes. He's played thousands of those. But somebody I definitely tried to emulate, somebody I tried to steal tuning ideas from. And honestly, I use 90% of the time, if I'm playing anything rock oriented, I use a Remo reverse dot head where the dot is on the underside of the snare head instead of the top. That way, if I need to do brushes, I can still do it. And I think Larrie Londin was the originator of that. If I'm not mistaken, he used to peel the dots off of the CS controlled sound heads, the black dot heads that became very famous in the I guess late 60s and through the early 70s. John Bonham used them on the acrylic drums and whatnot. Larrie Londin would peel the dots off and then stick them or glue them bound to the bottom of a snare head. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's why Remo started making those reverse dot heads, was because of Larrie Londin. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, you can't go wrong by trying to look him up, listen to what he's done, the shuffle feels, the brush feels, the country feels, the half shuffle with a cross stick or anything. Again, look up the tune Amos Moses. What a cool drum song. And I can't say enough of good things about him. What a powerhouse drummer he was. Rest in peace, Larrie Londin, but a definite influence on me and one of my drumming heroes, truly.